Join us on the last bus home.
I'm going to be honest, Lee, I'm speechless. When I logged on today, I had no idea you were going to drop that on me.
Fair enough. I thought you'd be the guy, but no one has to know, brother.
Good. It's not why we're here. Today, we're going west.
Oh, West England or West World?
West World.
Whoa.
We're going to northwest of America.
Nice.
Okay, we're off up to Washington State. Not to be confused with Washington, D.C. Specifically going to a town or city called Spokane.
Spokane, I have heard of that gaff. Okay, we are sorry to interrupt your listening, but we have an apology to deliver. So throughout this episode, we refer to your beautiful place as Spokane and not Spokane. We realised this error afterwards, and again, accept our apologies, but we're not going to edit, so you're just going to have to put up with it. Or don't. So to the beautiful people of Spokane, this episode is for you. Now on with the journey.
Now, I've got a few little ghost stories for there. We'll have a look, and then what we'll do, going to branch out a little bit and just do some a couple of wider Washington State ghost stories as well.
Cool.
With Washington State being where it is, it's a pretty big Bigfoot territory.
We do have a fair few America listeners now. If you do live in any haunted little towns or places that we just wouldn't know, please give us a shout out, because we do love driving the bus over and checking out what kind of horrors and cryptids you've got. So, hit us up.
There's no extra tariffs on big red buses. A little bit of background on Spokane for those who don't know. It was named after the Spokane tribe, so I'm guessing Spokane may not be the proper way of saying it. The native people who traditionally lived in the area. Okay, so the Spokanes. It's believed that Spokane people have inhabited the region for around 8,000 years. And when the American settlers arrived and attempted to claim the land, the Spokane tribe resisted.
All out war.
But this conflict led to long and bloody battles between settlers and the native inhabitants.
Ooh.
And these events are thought to have left a lasting impact on the city, reflected in the many stories of haunted locations. So we've got Monroe Street Bridge. The bridge was built in 1911, and it's a large concrete arch bridge. A worker during construction died, inspiring the legend of the ghost. So the ghost being a figure, and it's seen as to be a man in early 1900s work clothes, often described as looking like a sepia-toned photograph.
Classic.
So, reported behaviours will be things like he sometimes approaches passers-by, asking the question, what happened to the Native Americans once living along the river? And he appears confused and mournful. If you approach him, he runs towards the end of the bridge and he seems to jump into the river and vanishes before hitting the water.
Whoa, that's cool. It sounds like he had some moral conflicts in himself upon engineering the bridge that might not have been that great.
That it wasn't in everybody's best interest, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the next one is Greenwood Cemetery. Now, this cemetery feels eerie due to its aged, neglected appearance. So it's a bit of a run-down graveyard. It's got like leaning gravestones that are all moss-covered, and there's uneven paths creating an unsettling atmosphere. Its most famous feature is the abandoned staircase known as the 1,000 Steps. Sometimes when buildings fall down, all you get left is the chimney or the steps if they're not made of wood. The staircase was once the cemetery's main entrance for mourners and visitors, and it's now overgrown, deteriorating, and largely reclaimed by nature. Local folklore claims that protective spirits guard the staircase and the cemetery. Visitors reportedly experience an invisible barrier, unease, and a sense of being watched. And some people also claim to see brief apparitions of pale, human-like figures.
Nice. It's got a little bit of all sorts activity-wise happening there.
Yeah, but a newer entrance was built, avoiding the use of the staircase. I'm getting that. Probably becoming a bit of a trip hazard.
Yeah.
And reports of resistance, fear, and strange sightings help sustain the story.
That'd definitely be one on the list to visit. That sounds cool as.
Next, we've got the Fox Theatre. Spokane's Fox Theatre opened in 1931 during the era of grand movie palaces. So when cinema got big, they made all the big posh cinemas and that. Construction cost was about $1 million, a huge investment at the time. It flourished for roughly 30 years, attracting large audiences with its Art Deco style. Changing tastes led to a long period of decline in later decades. By the early 21st century, it had become a faded relic. A major restoration and modernisation project costing around $30 million revived the theatre. After reopening, stories of a ghost began circulating. The spirit is said to be Robert Reamer, the theatre's original architect. Witnesses describe him as being a silent, calm figure, and the legends suggest he's still watching over and caring for his creation. I'm assuming, by the sounds of it, he's quite happy with what's going on. Usually a restoration ghost tend to be not as happy with the changes.
Yeah, true. So, reminds me back to the Haunted Hotels episode where I'm sure there was one of those stories where there was a restoration going on and that spirit was not happy about it.
They tend to get their heads up their asses about having their dream, their vision changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You got to change with the times, whether you're dead or alive, it appears, yeah. So, next we've got, funnily enough, the Davenport Hotel. This is considered one of Spokane's most haunted landmarks. It was built in the early 1900s by Louis Davenport. So, good name for a hotel there, if you're going to call it the Davenport Hotel. So, once a grand social hub and centrepiece of city life, and it fell into disrepair. And by the 80s, its glamour had faded. Fully restored in 2002 through a major renovation. Despite restoration, ghost stories tied to the hotel remain. Central legend involves a woman named Ellen, who died in 1920. She reportedly fell from the hotel's tower under unclear circumstances. The cause of her fall is disputed, whether it's an accident, suicide, or something darker. Staff and guests claim her spirit appears in the tower once or twice a week, and reports describe a sudden scream echoing through the structure. After the scream, the figure vanishes, leaving only the lingering sound.
Nice. Sorry, did you say, is this still an active hotel?
Yeah. Fully restored in 2002. Whether it's still going today, I don't know, but I'm assuming so. Appearing once or twice a week. That's a lot.
That is a lot. It's an active.
Because even like a solid Poltergeist Haunted only lasts like a few years and stops. But this seems like a reg once or twice a week.
Right, regular activity. I might have to check my Spirit Realm books on that and see what's occurring. That to me, that says this spirit or this entity has got some shit they need to get sorted.
But surely there'd be more evidence surfacing if you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to happen. Then surely Taps or Most Haunted have been there and said, we'll stay here for the week and it's going to pop up one of these days.
You would have thought so. I mean, I always get that in my algorithms, and unfortunately, it's usually annoying YouTubers or TikTokers or whatever visiting haunted locations. I can't think if the Davenport's ever come up, but I bet it has. Might check that out.
Next, we've got Patsy Clark Mansion. This was completed in 1897 as a lavish private home. So we're looking nearly 150 years.
Yeah.
130 years, yeah.
That's an old one.
So, yeah, it's old by American standards. Built by a wealthy mining millionaire who spared no expense. Oh, it might have been the guy that built Jurassic Park. So it was designed to resemble a small palace rather than a typical residence. And after the owner's death, the mansion changed purposes over time, and it became an upscale restaurant before eventually serving as law offices. Despite these changes, reports suggest the original atmosphere lingers. The Clarks were known for hosting extravagant parties during their lifetime, and staff today report faint music and murmuring voices late at night. Sounds resemble ongoing celebrations happening out of sight, and a ghostly figure known as Mary is often seen on the staircase, and she is described wearing elegant turn-of-the-century party attire. And witnesses say she appears briefly and then vanishes without a trace. Now, this Mary seems to eschew the white, blue, green, red lady garb and actually wears clothes. So, Doubletree Hotel, another one. So, the Doubletree Hotel, it appears modern, clean and unremarkable from the outside. It resembles a typical Hilton chain hotel with no obvious signs of anything unusual. Despite its normal appearance, though, it has a reputation of one of Spokane's stranger haunted locations. Guests and staff report sightings of multiple shadowy figures.
Nice.
And these figures are described as tall, thin silhouettes with deliberate, unsettling movements. And sightings often involve shadows moving along walls or lingering at the edge of hallway light. Unlike more traditional ghost stories, these entities are said to behave aggressively. So some guests claim that the figures approach from behind without warning, and there are reports of invisible hands grabbing people by the throat. These encounters are brief but intensely frightening. No serious injuries have been reported, but the experiences caused panic, and the hotel's eerie reputation persists despite its polished, everyday appearance.
Nice. Well, I wonder what that used to be back in the day, because obviously the Doubletree, it's Hilton, isn't it? So it's a newer brand. Wonder if it was like something different, and then they just kind of took it over.
It seems, I mean, these are shadow figures, so suppose as a, going along the theory that shadow figure people are not ghosts, but an entity of their own.
Yeah.
Because these all seem to have the same trait of being very tall and thin and moving in weird ways, which, you have it sounds like you would choose to do that then.
Yeah, definitely. We need to bring up the distinction between those, I think, for your standard spirit realm entity, and then for me, your shadow people, that delves more into the dimensional kind of aspects. Yeah, man, a little more based in science, the shadow people, avoiding the spirit realm woo-woo, and we're going straight up dimensional crossovers.
Fair enough. So next we've got Horse Slaughter Camp. So early Spokane history included a violent conflict between the Spokane tribe and the incoming settlers. Increasing settler expansion onto tribal lands led to escalating tensions and deadly clashes. Spokane people killed settlers they believed were encroaching on their territory, and settlers retaliated, creating a cycle of violence. In 1858, settlers launched a large-scale punitive campaign against the Spokane tribe. This is the sort of thing that continues senseless violence, is punitive actions. Instead of just punishing someone for defending themselves, take it and move on. Don't then attack them. If you do something and someone attacks you, don't attack them back for attacking you. Defend yourself by all means, but then don't launch a whole fresh attack because they came at you in their own defence.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, but I'm a couple of 100 years too late telling them this. But for future...
It's a nice thought, Mr. Wilson, but I mean, look at the state of the world, mate. I don't think many psychos running places operate that kind of vibe. It's very much, if you attack us, we're going to go heavy on you.
Okay, so if anyone's listening to this, share it with your friends. Get the word out. That's conflict resolution right there. But these settlers didn't do that. And they did another attack. But to make them even more twatty, right? Instead of attacking the people directly, they targeted the tribe's horses. No. Horses were vital for transportation, hunting, trade, and survival. Destroying them was intended to weaken the tribe's ability to resist. About 800 horses were killed in a single devastating event, and the site became a place of deep loss for both the Spokane people and the animals. So today, the location is often described as haunted. Visitors report seeing ghostly, translucent horse figures moving in groups. Some hear hoofbeats despite no animals being present, and others describe a heavy, sorrowful atmosphere over the land.
No way. That's well, not cool, but from a ghost perspective, an army of phantom horses, that would be a terrifying sight. What was the name of the camp again, sorry?
Horse Slaughter Camp.
Horse Slaughter Camp. When you first said that...
Pretty much describes it, doesn't it?
Yeah, makes sense. But I literally thought we were talking about like an American summer camp. Do you know, like, Daddy, can I go to Horse Slaughter Camp this summer? Like, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, it doesn't sound ominous or setting up for a movie in any way.
That's bad. I mean, they should have freed the horses. Just let them run off. That'd have been better.
Scatter them, yeah.
Yeah.
Inconvenience the Spokane tribe. Yeah, exactly. But no, they had to go one step further and be the knob. Horse knobs.
Brutal. Horse Slaughter Camp, which is, ironically, what I call the IKEA canteen. The meatballs are delicious.
Right then. The Hahn Mansion next. The Hahn Mansion was originally the luxurious home of Rudolf Hahn, a wealthy and flamboyant figure in the 1920s and 30s, which I have to now highlight since we're now in the 2020s. The house symbolised his success and filled with grand rooms, expensive decor, and frequent high society guests. In 1940, Hahn's lover was found dead inside the mansion. Her death was officially ruled a suicide, but many people doubted this conclusion, and rumours spread of a violent argument, jealousy, and a possible cover-up. Some believed Hahn was responsible, though no proof was ever found. The scandal damaged Hahn's reputation, and he soon left the mansion, and later Hahn himself was murdered by a travelling salesman, adding to the dark history. Reports of paranormal activity began over time. Visitors and staff claimed to see a female figure moving through the mansion, and sightings are most common near the location where Hahn's lover died. People describe sudden chills and the feeling of being watched, and the mansion is now considered one of Spokane's eeriest haunted locations. The lingering presence is often believed to be Hahn's lover, unable to leave the place where she died.
I love those old school American mansion vibes. They just look creepy as shit.
It depends where you are, because I like the old plantation buildings,
Yes.
with the pillars, and they look good.
Yeah, that's exactly
they
the kind of
represent what they do,
Yeah. But no, that's exactly what I've got in my head. Those old plantation style, like, they just look creepy.
Yeah, with all those droopy trees. Can't remember what they're called.
That's it, man.
Next, we've got Monaghan Hall. Monaghan Hall was built in 1898 by pioneer James Monaghan. It was a private mansion. The property was sold to Gonzaga University in 1942. The building features 3 stories, a turret, and a wide shadowed porch, giving it an imposing historic appearance. Today it serves as the university's music conservatory. In the 1970s, students were uneasy about entering the building, especially at night. Many reported a heavy, menacing presence throughout the halls. Reported paranormal incidents include a door handle turning by itself before the door violently flew open, a pipe organ playing in an empty room, animal-like growling coming from a locked storage closet, flute music heard in an empty practice room, and security guards feeling an unseen force wrap around their throats and squeeze.
Ooh, malevolent entities by the sounds of it.
As activity escalated, the university brought in clergy in 1975 to perform an exorcism. The ritual reportedly reduced the most aggressive disturbances. Despite this, the building is still considered uneasy by students and staff, and many describe an unnatural stillness, deep shadows, and a lingering sense of presence. Okay, we've got Mirabeau Park Hotel, another hotel. It's widely believed to be one of Washington's most haunted locations, and witnesses commonly report a ghostly family, typically described as a mother with 2 children, and their identities and the story behind their presence remain unknown. But guests and staff frequently experience unexplained disturbances. Paintings have been violently knocked off the walls, sometimes breaking their frames. Doors and windows slammed shut without any apparent cause. Well, I don't want to be that guy, but if you're leaving doors and windows open, they're going to shut themselves if there's a breeze.
Maybe.
You know, you leave a window open on one side of the house, the door on the other side is going to slam.
Possibly,
Right.
but we shouldn't rule out.
Not possibly, it does. Right, objects are reported to move on their own or disappear and reappear in unusual places.
Ooh,
Yeah,
classic poltergeist behaviour.
isn't it? And some visitors feel an unseen force pushing them while climbing the stairs. Oh, well, that's good. Being pushed up the stairs is much more preferable.
Yeah, get a move on.
So sightings are rare, and the presence is usually sensed rather than clearly seen. And there's also reports of a separate male spirit described as loud and disruptive, and it's unclear whether this male figure is part of the same family. And the hotel is believed to host multiple spirits rather than a single haunting. Overall, the activity suggests a persistent and active supernatural presence. And that is the end of Spokane. I've got now more, but these are a few hauntings from wider Washington state.
Okay, cool.
Okay, next we've got the Woman in Blue, and this is at the Paradise Inn at Mount Rainier. Paradise Inn sits high on Mount Rainier and surrounded by snow and isolation. It's said to hold quiet, lingering secrets from the past. Guests report sightings of a mysterious woman who seems out of place in time. She appears as a pale figure wearing a soft blue dress, styled like the 1920s. Most often she's seen on the mezzanine nearing the rail. She seems to inspect the structure as if worried about the building's safety. If you're not sure what a mezzanine is, it's a floor between floors. So when you get the stairs that go up the first flight, then there's a little landing in the next flight to the next floor. That middle bit's the mezzanine. And she seems to inspect the structure as if worried about the building's safety. At times, she approaches the guests and politely asks for directions. And when they turn back to respond, she vanishes without a trace. And her appearances are brief, and they never last long, and visitors are left wondering who she was and what unfinished concern keeps bringing her back.
A lady in blue as well.
So next we've got the lady in the window. Walker Ames House, Port Gamble. So in Port Gamble, a town where the past lingers, the Walker Ames House overlooks the waterfront like a watchful relic. Locals regard it as Washington's most haunted home, and they mean it seriously, not as a joke. Visitors often feel sudden, unexplained drops in temperature, as though something invisible has passed through. And footsteps are heard moving through empty rooms, slow and deliberate, but there's no one there. And some report hearing children's laughter, clear and playful, coming from empty corners. A recurring figure is seen, a tall woman in an old-fashioned dress, often appearing in upstairs windows. She sometimes stands motionless, watching, or leans forward as if expecting someone. And when people go upstairs to investigate, the rooms are empty, and there's just a faint movement of the curtains. And the house's hauntings are subtle, less dramatic, more like a quiet, persistent memory. So more of a stone tape job.
Yeah. Yes, I was thinking that. We seem to be we come across a lot of the evidence for the stone tape theory. I'm a full believer.
Okay, next we've got the prankster. This is at the Oxford Saloon in Snohomish. The Oxford Saloon dates back to 1900 and immediately gives visitors a strong sense of its long, intense history. Originally operated as a rugged pub with a discreet upstairs brothel, accumulating many untold stories over time. Despite changes in ownership and purpose, its atmosphere has remained heavy and unsettling. So first we've got Henry, the resident spirit, said to be a police officer who died violently on the premises, believed to still patrol the saloon, and visitors report feeling a firm, cold hand on their shoulder as if being guided or warned, or being nicked.
When you say visitors, I take it it's not still an active brothel.
I mean, it may not be a brothel as such, but people might go out back for a handy or something, we don't know.
Why not?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, you do you.
So next we've got the lady in red. Again, not a red lady. A lady
not a red lady in red.
So there's obviously a difference. This is the second one now. So she appears in a long, outdated crimson dress and seen drifting through doorways or standing at the top of the stairs, described as watchful and wistful, as though waiting for someone. So it's a pretty boring ghost there. She just stands there being ill red, which is that's her thing. And next, paranormal activities experienced by guests in general is hair being sharply tugged, sudden forceful shoves with no one present, and the smell of lingering cigar smoke despite no recent smoking. I'm going to debunk that one straight up because I live in a house. We don't smoke. Previous occupants did. And every now and again we get the odd whiff of it because it gets into the woodwork. And if it gets damp or muggy, sometimes you can get whiffs of tobacco. Although, we've been in this house for like 15 years and we don't smoke.
Now then, Mr. Wilson, this may be your skeptic mind at play here because you say all residents, the cigar smoke just lingers. I'm going straight up. Your house is haunted, bro, by a cigar smoking ghost. Just saying. Don't want to scare you, but that's probably more logical, let's face it.
So, yeah, the saloon's often described as not just haunted, but actively inhabited. Its history seemingly continuing in its shadows. Next, we've got the Crying Bride at Manresa Castle in Port Townsend. Built in 1892 by Jesuits, this castle overlooks Port Townsend like a brooding sentinel. Said to carry a heavy atmosphere, although its walls hold lingering sorrow. Often described as feeling older than it truly is. Known for the legend of the Crying Bride, the story tells of a young woman whose fiancé was lost at sea, for a change. Overcome with grief, she died by suicide in the attic. Guests report sightings of her spirit on the upper floors. Staff hear soft weeping drifting down stairwells in otherwise silent moments. Shadows are seen moving behind closed doors. Objects appear subtly disturbed, like books shifted and chairs out of place, and hauntings are described as quiet and persistent rather than dramatic. And the overall feeling of a lingering, unresolved sadness throughout the building. So, yeah, that's The Crying Bride. You see, that I'd want more of a story there. That's more of a dramatic title. But you can't choose why people do themselves. So, that's me being disrespectful and expecting them something more dramatic when it was pretty damn dramatic for her, I'm guessing. Okay, we've got The Phantom at the Piano at Rooker Mansion in Everett. So a massive 60,000 square foot estate in Everett with a watchful, uneasy quiet. So a thick atmosphere again. Built at the turn of the century, rooted in the legacy of the Rooker family. They're strongly associated with the lingering presence of Jane Rooker. Legend says that she still moves through the house as if she'd never left. Staff report hearing soft, deliberate piano music from the Grand Hall. Music often plays on its own and stops abruptly without explanation. Apparitions described as a pale figure drifting through the corridors, sometimes seen pausing in doorways or at the end of long hallways. Reported sightings of her standing motionless at the top floor window. And presence gives the feeling of someone always just out of sight. And the house feels subtly occupied, as though it's never truly empty.
Just some lingering entities there.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to Stone Tape.
Well, I don't know if it is, or because it's playing a different piano tune every time. That sounds intelligent. But if it's Stone Tape, do we get sounds from that? Or we just see it?
I always think when it's a tricky one. I always think the Stone Tape, it's a kind of an entity just doing his own thing, where the more classical active hauntings where people are having the hair tugged and pushed, that's when I move away from the Stone Tape theory.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because Stone Tape's like a replaying. Anywho, so that's The Phantom at the Piano. We've got the Ghostly Patron next at Kell's Irish Pub in Seattle. So, located in the lower levels of Seattle's Pike Place Market, the pub occupies a building with a dark history. The site was once the Butterworth Mortuary, the city's first official morgue. Staff on late shifts report seeing full-bodied apparitions, clear human figures that float rather than walk. And these figures appear briefly before fading away, as if dissolving onto the walls. Sudden, sharp drops in temperature are common, creating an intense and unsettling cold. Near the former crematorium area, murmuring or calling voices are often heard, and the voices sound distant and indistinct, like someone speaking from behind a closed door. These sounds occur when no one else is present in that part of the pub. The overall atmosphere suggests the building still remembers its past and occasionally reveals it.
Ah, nice. So full on admittance of a Stone Tape building. It remembers its past and it shows it. I like it.
So next we've got the apparition of Princess Angeline at Pike Place Market, again, in Seattle. So Princess Angeline, also known as Kiki Soblu, was the eldest daughter of Chief Stealth, but without a T. She lived in a small, weather-worn cabin along Seattle's waterfront, close to the tide. Her life represented a bridge between Seattle's growing modern city and its indigenous roots. Even as the city expanded, she remained in her shoreline home, continuing daily tasks while washing clothes and basket carving. Today, people say her spirit lingers around Pike Place Market's stairways, alleys, and shadowed corners. Witnesses report seeing a small, stooped woman in traditional clothing near dimly lit areas. Vendors and shoppers describe her as silent, calmly observing rather than interacting. She appears briefly, then fades into the darkness without speaking. The feeling associated with the presence is not fear, but reflection and remembrance. Her presence is often interpreted as a reminder of Seattle's deep indigenous history beneath the modern city. So next we've got the 1910 train wreck spirit at Wellington town site at Stevens Pass. Wellington is located high in the Cascades, where evidence of past disasters is still visible. In 1910, it became the site of the deadliest avalanche in US history. After days of intense storms, a huge snow slab broke loose at night, and 2 stalled Great Northern passenger trains were swept off the mountainside. 96 people died, with trains and bodies thrown into a ravine. The town of Wellington declined afterwards and eventually disappeared. So I'm guessing that rail route was key to the town, like a lot of towns in America, which are probably now ghost towns. Either mines ran out or train routes were made obsolete by highways and stuff.
Yeah.
Today, hikers walk the old railway route through the area. Many report eerie experiences, especially when the fog rolls in. Some hear distant screams or phantom train whistles in the mist. Others see shadowy figures that vanish when approached. The area feels haunted, as if the tragedy still echoes there. On foggy days, it can feel like the past is still present.
Man, I bet that looks cool as just thick mist and all that cool old shit.
So next we've got the White Horse at Black Diamond Cemetery. Near the old mining town of Black Diamond, a cemetery sits quietly among the trees. Calm during the day, but feels distinctly different once night falls. Locals share many ghost stories about the cemetery, and the most famous is the legend of the White Horse. After dark, especially under a bright full moon, people report a faint, pale outline of a horse forming between gravestones, a soft glow as if it gathers light around itself, and slow, graceful movement with complete silence. Witness descriptions often include no sound of its hooves, a drifting mane as if moved by an unseen breeze, and not that I've ever seen a breeze, I'll be honest, an eerie but calm presence. So we've got another soother. And according to legend, the horse once belonged to a soldier who never returned from war, and it died waiting for its owner. Its spirit now wanders the cemetery searching for him. Reported sightings vary, though. Some say it pauses at certain graves, lowering its head as if recognizing them, and others claim it simply appears, watches briefly, and then fades into darkness. We usually get that with dogs.
Man. Yeah. Although, I mean, I have come across a few haunted horse stories, but do we have any haunted dog stories? Maybe that should be an episode for the future. Dog ghosts. So next we've got the restless patients of Northern State Hospital at Sedro-Woolley. An old psychiatric hospital sits on a sprawling grounds outside town. Long brick buildings stand abandoned since the 70s, appearing hollow and forgotten. Despite closure, the place never feels truly silent. The wind moves oddly, carrying the smell of damp earth and a lingering sense of something aged, almost like memory. I mean, it's going to smell if it's just a disused old building. So I'm going to skip that. Yeah.
Locals describe the site as a wound that never healed, and paranormal investigators treat it as a destination, almost like a pilgrimage. So it's like is it like a bucket list place for ghost hunters? Anyway, both groups report similar experiences. So inside the abandoned wards, there's sharp, echoing cries are heard. The sounds are brief, panicked, and unmistakably human, and they bounce off the walls and vanish without a trace. no source is ever found in the empty buildings. Along the forested trails around the hospital, people hear footsteps following behind them. The steps match their pace, staying just a few strides back. And when they stop, the footsteps stop. And when they turn, there's nothing there but trees. The overall atmosphere is the grounds feel active rather than abandoned, and as if the place is still aware and still listening, suggesting it may be replaying fragments of lives once lived within its walls. So that brings us to the end of this list, and I hope it was everything you hoped it would be, Lee.
I dug it. Very good, Mr. Wilson. Well, that's the end, Mr. Wilson. Thank you very much for educating me.
This is my stop.
Ding, ding, mate. Bye-bye.
See you.